for the thumbs up, in Hong Kong's photo taking, there's actually no privacy because, with the high definition camera, you're actually giving up all your privacy to the cameras and, but we like thumbs up, right? That's a fun thing to do. Anyway, I have to run back to LegCo for I'm queuing for my speech for the budget this year, which we will approve very soon. So that I may run back. I have to run away anytime. So I think I've seen some of the sharing by Gregg and Stephen. So I just asked Gregg. He has an update version all the time. So sorry, this time I won't be able to stay to look at your sharings. But why space is important? I think this is obvious, right, to everyone. I think the space exploration is important for humankind, not just for commercial return. So this is works that actually I think every country, every researcher need to spend efforts in, especially the universities where they carry a lot of the work for basic research. So we have to definitely, fund or, support the universities, academias in the space research efforts, and this is for greater benefits of humankind. We've seen recently a lot of breakthrough in space explorations, and in some area, I would say China is quite leading in building space stations and some of the exploration work. And of course, there are some area that the US is actually leading in, let's say, one of the area about the missile, the rocket technologies. And the reusable rockets is definitely the US is leading in some efforts. So, what can we do in Hong Kong? I think one, definitely more resources into the researching and the academia will definitely help because there's no way we can frame, what comes out from the researching team. So providing more resources into the academia, I think is something that we definitely have to do. For the last few years, I think we have to go back to a broader scenes of why Hong Kong is doing technology and what we're trying to do in Hong Kong in technology. I think one big perspective changes is we can see that from Hong Kong, doesn't matter the policy or in the funding scheme or some of the directions that we're heading in the universities. I always share that we're going from application in technology to creation of technology, what we call innovation. Hong Kong has been quite advanced in technology before in many measurements, but mainly on application of technology. We like technology, we have funding and, we have abundance of talents. We leverage a lot of technology into the market, but you haven't heard about too many technology that are really innovated or, created here in Hong Kong. So I think the whole mindset and all the resources that we're putting in, all the policy changes are pushing the academia or the universities or the researcher to actually bring their product out to the market. So make sure that things are invented in Hong Kong. Just like one of the scheme I'm the steering committee chairman of, which is called the Race Plus scheme, which is a 10 billion Hong Kong dollar funding by the government. The whole purpose is to bridge the commercialization process of university research into productization or commercializations. So it's one of the most generous schemes that I've seen globally that, each project can get up to 100 million Hong Kong dollar in grant. So this is one of the most generous schemes that we see. So the whole purpose behind with all the Inno Hong Kong that you heard about, the research grant, and these are Race Plus scheme that you heard about, the ITF funding, and also even in the fund market where government is providing some matching fund to the professional investors, all promoting or encouraging people to do innovation here, create the products or the software or the technology or the IP whatsoever in Hong Kong, but not just applying technology from outside. So the last 20, 30 years, I think Hong Kong, most of the resources were used to take technology from outside, leverage it, which is not bad, improve efficiency of the corporates, help certain industry, help SME in using technology in Hong Kong, so we become more tech savvy. But I think that the future 10 years, the very simple direction is to let people create technology here. So that's the whole purpose of all these policies that you heard in the last 2 or 3 years, all these schemes that we've launched, the AI Research Center, the Life Science Research Center, the supercomputing supporting scheme, and the center that we're going to build. So all these things come back to instrumental work in help people create technology in Hong Kong. So, there are a few particular areas that we emphasize on. You heard from our other schemes like, fintech, digital economy, life sciences. So these are the field area that most of the resources were channeled into, because I think these area, I think the government think that these area, they will actually have more chances of success. So, these area we go back to one thing is like life sciences, you apply technology to human, so you need to have trust, right? Fintech is about your investments, so it has to have trust and systems and compliance, and all these things. I think Hong Kong can provide. Other than the technology innovations, you also have to provide the trust in these technology that you are creating, so that people will be consider to use technology that are created here. So with the legal system and all the innovation works that we have in Hong Kong, these are the area that actually we think we can promote. And anything related to data, we understand what is happening now with the geopolitics. I think all country, not just China and US in future, all country, when they apply technology, doesn't matter is a hardware, software, or things actually that touch data, you need to have a governance that let people understand how the technology is created. Doesn't matter it's an AI or any other logical thinking. Whether when this technology is applied, is it false proof? Whether security, is it safe? Second is the data that it touch, does it infringe any kind of law or privacy issues? So all these things, anything that touch on data, I think Hong Kong, for now, we see people have a trust in our legal system, in the way we deal with private data, and we have more advanced data privacy protection system. And we are also updating our legal system. We just approved the critical infrastructure protection law in LegCo 2 months ago. So these are all things that we are doing to advance the trust in technology and how technology deal with data processing. We have different governance in Hong Kong, many academia research. We have professional bodies like IEEE, and these are all principle setting professionals, and we are matching with the global systems and the global governance in many of these matters. So I think these are all areas that Hong Kong can provide a trusted technology products globally. And we all know that there are many advanced systems, software, hardware, robots, whatsoever in mainland, where they have the best cost effectiveness, price effectiveness, and these products, they can all go through Hong Kong to go abroad, what we call 出海, which is a mega trend recently. We see a lot of. I just met with a bunch of tech companies from Beijing and Shanghai to Hong Kong, and these are all great companies, but with the compliance that they can build up in Hong Kong, with the system they can build up in Hong Kong, with the way the data governance, the data compliance that they can build up in Hong Kong, we can provide very strong go abroad, cases in Hong Kong. So going back to space, why we should do space, actually, one of the big advocacy this year I want to build is what we call, not broadly just space, but also deep sea exploration. It's actually one of the advocacy I'm pushing through this year, space and deep sea exploration. I think Hong Kong has an edge. Recently, just a few months back, we have these deep sea exploration ship, right? The Jiaolong Hao. It just came to Hong Kong. So I have the privilege to speak to some of the team And they mentioned, the importance of building a sample station in Hong Kong because all these deep sea exploration from mainland, they invite specialists, experts globally to join all these deep sea explorations. So it's easier, one, for these experts to gather to Hong Kong, in Hong Kong, doing at the same time discussions on the exploration results and sharing of the data. And second, a lot of the sample they collect from deep sea, they need to house in somewhere, I wouldn't say more neutral, but more accessible to a lot of the global experts. So it makes sense for, let's say, Deep Sea to build sample stations in Hong Kong for experiments and for discussions and for conference. And same thing for space. Space, we're going to collect a lot of data in the process. So, how do we build on the data that we get and, share data with the different country from different part of the world. And this is also a mission of this space that, is owned by all humankind, but not, by one particular country. So this go back to the, we're just having the World Internet Conference in Hong Kong. I've attended that for 11 years. And all along the year that we spent in the World Internet Conference in mainland, one of the most high-level conferences in China, is that at the beginning, what we mentioned is the internet belongs to everyone in the world, not any country, not any company. The message is clear for the last 11 years in mainland. And next, we go to blockchain. We talk about Web3. This is a technology that belong to everyone. And recently, it changed gear to AI, that the technology should be benefiting everyone, mankind. I think that all along is the ideology of mainland, in building technology. So all technology infrastructure should apply to all humankind. So the same thing is for space. We do exploration for space for the benefit of humankind. So all data, it should be shared. Experiment, it should be shared. We can create companies that provide, good things in this, but, data should be shared by all. So I think Hong Kong also has a role that, we can build center where we do collaborations, we can do experiments, but shared by, experts globally. And we all know that data from Hong Kong will flow freely to any other countries without any limitation. And we are the only place where we have cross-border data transmission governance with mainland. So we can have the connectivity between mainland and Hong Kong in data use and also globally. So there's a lot we have to explore. I know Greg is going to talk about, different classes of space exploration in terms of rockets, space travel, satellite, where we do low orbit quite a lot in Hong Kong. Recently, we're exploring the possibility of low orbit. I think, from the 海上發射叫咩啊？sea launch, right? Sea launch, I think, is also possible in Hong Kong. I heard from a lot of experts. So I think you're going to talk about these. So sea launch is one thing you can also consider. And a lot of the research, still left a, big room for us to actually explore into. So all these things, there's a lot of things already happening. PolyU has a few missions accomplished with the 嫦娥好似冇英文名喎 What is the name? 嫦娥 with the 嫦娥 456 missions, right? And I'm happy to be involved in the UST last year. They secured the new mission on Chang'e number 8, where likely on before 2030, we're going to see the biggest payload robots built in Hong Kong and travel to the moon. That's likely before 2030, and a single-wheeled robot where they can travel on different geographical conditions. And that would be one of the biggest missions Hong Kong will be involved. And also before 2030, hopefully, that we have a training astronaut with the central government. So maybe Hong Kong represented space traveling astronaut would be also achieved before 2030. So anyway, a lot of things happening, and I hope we have people that really support this mission, the space exploration on space innovation market. And I hope, even though we are talking about the budget, the debate, most people are concerned with the budget loss, for the last 2 years. I still hope I'm going to speed in 15 minutes. And my topic is we can cut on everything, but we cannot cut on technology spending. So that's the only mission I have. And hopefully we keep up the government's good work in supporting technology in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chiu, for the opening remarks with insights on creating technology and data flow. For our upcoming keynote sessions, we are honored to first have Professor Gregg Li, bringing along experiences from American Express to Coopers, Aon, OASA, and more, who will then be joined by Professor Stephen Cheung, having served in various capacities, including a NASA program to Silicon Valley and the Hong Kong Productivity Council. Let's first welcome Professor Li onto the stage, please. Thank you.
So thank you, Duncan. And thank you to many J's in this room. Jane, Jasmine, Joe, Jennifer, a lot of you, thank you for making this possible. So he has to run, but I'm going to tease him as he's leaving because the whole talk is about investment, Duncan. All right. So I have 20 minutes and I'll keep it short. Oops, go back a little bit. Why we love space. And at the end, hopefully you can love space as much as we do. The thing about space is once you bite into space, the space bites into you, you love it. It's very difficult to leave it. We call it new space. Okay, it's not the old space. The old space is about government. We don't touch space, right? Then, NASA had a challenge, so Elon came along, and that began new space. New space is a commercial power of space. It's not about technology, okay? So, new space. My wife tells me I'm a very difficult person to speak with, so I thought I'd use a background so you know where I'm coming from. So there are 5 levels of things that I do on top of the things that I learn, university that I go to learn. And right now, so this side on this side is presently, and that's where you begin. So on the top corner is Washington University. So eventually, then the more you know, the less you seem to know. As I keep on learning. And I found that EDX is fantastic. So go up there and continue learning. The second level is, as a professor friend told me, to learn something, you got to teach it. And I found out that teaching it helps. So I taught at Tsinghua, Fudan, and on other issues like corporate governance, things that never heard of 30 years ago. And eventually helping Hong Kong U, laboratory space research. And most of them are free, by the way. So because I'm also, making money as an employee. So on the third line, many years ago, I was at Pearl Harbor. So counting trees. Did a little test. The government says, wow, you have something special. So why don't we look after you? So eventually ended up in Washington, D.C. And then one day I said, government's kind of boring. Like many governments. I said, look, maybe the private sector is more fun. And the only way to leave is get an MBA. So I went to UCLA, best bang for the buck, $500 per semester, and finished my degree. And then my wife was working with Barron Hilton, and Barron says, why don't we build Conrad? And that's why we came back. So, so on and so forth. Okay, that's the money earning part. Then part of it is you have to give back to society in a different way. So I thought I can help out, and eventually became an advisor. And I'm doing this talk because they asked me to. They didn't twist my arm, by the way. And as a business person investing, I thought I don't know enough. So the only thing is invest, right? That's the only way you learn. So you invest in different companies and eventually investing in OASA. Okay, so that's basically where I'm coming from. I was sitting in Hawaii last week. It was Tuesday or something. This was what I was looking at. Makaha, beautiful waves, right? So I had a family gathering. I thought I would spend a few days in Hawaii. And then Trump came around. I said, oh, so I throw away my entire slides. Okay. I was looking at the sea. I said, I thought I got it made, but apparently my shareholding went down 30%. And the only thing that saved me was gold. And I thought, interesting. Are we looking at a sunset? Or are we looking at a sunrise? Most people says it's a sunset. I said, no, it's the beginning of the next day. It's just a little earlier, right? Set and it will come up again. So I thought, why don't I think differently and help you think? Because you're here, and thank you for coming to support, is to learn about NewSpace. Can you imagine one future where investments can continue to last, right? Gold is a good investment had you invested in it. Is there anything else? So my role is to always learn about where to put my time, where to invest. And one day I said, data. Let's invest in data. Okay. What are things that are similar to economic earthquake? I don't know. I'll keep on thinking, keep on asking. Now, one thing for sure in economics, at one time I was working on my doctorate in economics. I didn't finish because I totally got bored with that. So I changed major again. I'm one of those weirdos. But I never had physics. But I'm teaching at the Laboratory of Space Research. So for the young person in this room, I don't see any, don't let what you learn confine you. Okay? I learned about physics through EDX, learning backwards. More difficult because your math is gone. Right? I was pretty good at math, but not very good memory. Technology, one thing about economics is over time, technology tends to drop. The same technology, right? Because new technology replaces. Now that's almost a universal truth. But when you talk about space, high tech, high air, right? There's a lot of risks. High tech, high risk, high return. Is it high return? What is space? Is it really high return? Now, how big is the space economy, the new space economy? 1.85 trillion. Right now, 600 billion. It's going up like this. If you had you invested in space, it never came down during COVID, never came down during the 2008. It's kept on going. Now, if you were in the invest in space, it has to be long term. It's a 10-year thing, right? You cannot invest short term. There's no point. So the question is, where should we invest in new space? Now the question is, where's Hong Kong's role? Okay? I'm just asking questions. I don't have the answer. How do you ground new ventures in new space economy? Okay? In Hong Kong or Greater Bay? First of all, it requires a new mindset. You ask any families, and the family says, we don't invest in technology. We invest in startups, in the market. So where's the market in Hong Kong in new space? That is a question to be asked, not the technology, right? Go back a little bit. What inspires young people? Little things like an article, right? Nature magazine. A 2009 survey found that 50% of the well-renowned professor scientists, like Stephen Cheung here, who published in a Nature journal, were inspired by Apollo. So when 2019 came around, when OASA was formed, when Sir David asked me, what can you do? I said, I don't know what I can do. He said, well, I can talk to kids about space. He said, okay, let's begin from there. That's why OASA was born. Or OASA stands for Orion Astropreneur Space Academy. Okay? Orion is a constellation seen by the east and the west, has the same meaning. A person looking, a hunter. Astropreneur is entrepreneurs in space. So the only time that we thought possibly in Hong Kong is education. Okay? Nothing else yet. But that is changing very fast. What is this? You heard about the fiasco, right? They've been having Panama and all those things. And someone says, why don't we go north, Arctic? You cut, what, 30% of the trip, right? Amazing because of, the weather. So it's actually, potentially, you can do this. Mr. Falk and his family did it. But, what's the but? You got icebergs, right? It's not that easy. It's very cold up there. how to locate moving iceberg. Thing about problem solving is you begin with a problem, not the technology, right? Satellites available. They can see where the iceberg is to the centimeter level, that level of accuracy. Now, another thing which is interesting, NAMI in Hong Kong, which is a nano something, right? That's part of ASHRAE now. You probably didn't know. They invented a battery to go to minus 40°C. What does that mean? That means your sensor on the boat can now sense. Everything has to come together at the right time to solve a problem. The problem to solve is this, okay? So satellite technologies do work. Now let's begin something simple. That is a Rubik's Cube, right? But this size. This is a CubeSat, okay? When we started 2019, kids no idea what this is. Now, a young person can build this in 6 hours. When a young person can build it in 6 hours, they see a whole new different world. That 24 stack looks something like a Starlink. Starlink, Qinfan, everything's based around CubeSat. What is this? This is a sensor, basically, okay? How do you get this up in the air? Rockets, right? You can shoot it from a plane. I even asked Cathay, can you do it from Hong Kong? He said, well. But if you know the information, NewSpace is about a lot of information. You need to understand that NewSpace, they'll be shooting rockets up 1 a day. Next year will be 2 a day. Next year will be 4 a day. Everything is going up, okay? But Hong Kong is not about shooting rockets up. We don't have the rockets, okay? What is Hong Kong about? Data coming down. This is another one. And Stephen told me, hey, you can actually spin and think. You can actually do that. It works. Feasibility-wise, it works. But you can't scale it. The business doesn't work. The company is struggling, okay? So it's not only the technology, the business has to be there. So we run a series of talk. Clara does it. It's called Space Biz. We look at, is it feasible? Can you make it a business into it? Can you scale it? Without the 3 things, it doesn't work. And Hong Kong needs all 3 things coming together. That's a CubeSat, okay? ESA is European Space Agency, by the way. Now, if you understand the power application of a CubeSat, let's begin, dumb it down, okay? What can you do with a CubeSat? What do you do with a sensor? What can you do with it? Well, 2019, okay? So what got us started? So Stephen and I were talking, and Sir David, outgoing, we were talking. What can you do to help Hong Kong? I said, first of all, how come we don't have this program in Hong Kong? Anybody, any guess? They had it in Korea. They had it in Vietnam. They even have it in Nepal. Not in Hong Kong. Why? In the US, grade school kids put this together, put it in a NASA rocket, goes off. Where's our kid? Right? So we said, that's not good enough. Okay, so we did something. So on that side, the first thing it is, well, let's create something. So we invited 19 schools, about 500 students. Took us 10 months to get this program. It's around COVID, right? So it's very difficult, as you know. We didn't even have this. We just talk at, having them create a business based on that. Then we said, we need to improve. So we moved into work with PolyU. So PolyU was 10 weeks, okay? And then 10 schools. We said we can do better. We did it with HKPC, and this is funded by Bank of China, and that was outside the school system. Any student can come in, and that took 12 hours. Now we can do it in 6 hours. Anyway, so part of it, the point I'm trying to say is governments often cannot make mistakes, right? Innovation requires making mistakes, require trying, testing, come on again, do it again. Requires understanding the market. Part of the problem is we don't understand the market. How am I doing on time? I can't see that. Nobody with a sign? Okay, anyway. What can you do with satellite data? Any idea? There's so many things you can do with satellite data. Data is a new oil. Space data is a new petrol. And if we know how to use it, there's a new gold. Okay? Those who understand the evolving and feel data ecosystem is a new spider in the next economy. Now I'm going to show you a video. It's by a company called Skywatch. Okay, so what is Skywatch? Skywatch is you download an app and you can program where the satellite data are going to be, and you understand where things are. So if you want to find out how many people in Hong Kong who has an actual roof over their houses, you can using satellites. Simple, right? A lot of things we can do. So let's see if this works or not.
Humanity has pushed beyond our atmosphere to understand what calls us human. The desire to deepen our knowledge of our universe and our home. We go to space to better our world and ourselves. Space technology is constantly improving. Data we collect with it has never been more valuable. Getting that data from the heavens to our hands can be a hurdle of cosmic proportions. Skywatch launched with the express purpose of taking the data we collect up there, making it useful down here.
Skywatch has built a machine-to-machine infrastructure which tightly integrates the world's satellite operators, space agencies, and ground stations.
We've traveled a long way since launching EarthCache in 2018, the world's first API for commercial Earth observation data. EarthCache has changed the way that satellite data is collected, aggregated, and accessed. On our mission to impact every person through satellite data, EarthCache was only the first step. Now with TerraStream, we're taking the next big leap in bringing satellite data down to Earth. Getting to orbit is no longer the hard part. Distributing your data to customers and building a profitable business is. TerraStream is the world's first turnkey data management and distribution platform for anyone launching a satellite. We want to make it easier to get world-changing data in the hands of those who need it. TerraStream is an industry-leading platform that will take away the heavy lifting of getting to market. Most importantly, through its integration into EarthCache, TerraStream provides access to thousands of customers on day one. We collect data in space to make our planet better. We monitor weather from space to predict natural disasters and help with relief efforts. We monitor farms from space to improve crop yields and feed more people across the globe. We track hurricanes and forest fires and pollution, climate change here with the data we get from up there. Astronaut Krista McAuliffe said, "Space is for everybody. It's not just for a few people in science or math or for a select group of astronauts. That's our new frontier out there, and it's everybody's business to know about space. It's everybody's business to make life down here better, and at Skywatch, we're making it your business. We're building the future of Earth observation. Join us."
Okay, that's an American company. Okay, there are other companies, Chinese, Europeans, they can all do that now. What can you do with space data? 1 minute. All right, what can you do with space data? A lot, but you can't squeeze time. There are always problems. Space is about data moving a distance. You also encounter cybersecurity. Okay, so these are the things that we have to understand. Second thing is, there's a lot of rubbish up there. Who put it up there? Humans. Because we're too narrow-minded. We don't understand, we don't talk to one another. Now this is, if it gets out of hand, 2035, no one's flying out. Kessler syndrome. How much rubbish is up there? That number, 130 million, smaller than 1 centimeter, and they're not sitting still. It's moving 7 kilometers per second. It'll put a dent in anything. How should Hong Kong begin? Did you know, okay, when we started, over 86 countries had a space program. 5 years ago, when OASA was born. Mauritius, I recently ran into Mauritius, the head of the space agency. I said, what do you need a space agency in Mauritius? He said, because majority of our asset is in the ocean. We want a space to monitor the health of our coral and the seaweed. That is power. Government no longer needs space, okay? New space is not about government. New space is about the business of space. Look at Luxembourg. It is a private entity set up by this community. Mauritius, Hainan Islands, there's a lot of things moving, okay? So Singapore created this Office of Space Research. You know, they're way ahead of us. They can build satellites. We can't. Don't believe what you hear in the space news, but we don't have the people yet. They did it 12 years ago. They're also suffering because they don't have what Hong Kong has. We have the super connectivity with the network, with the fintech, okay? In order for Hong Kong to work together, come together on this, we have to leverage on what China is doing and what Singapore is doing. On that note, okay, we seem to be stuck. Okay, how to unfreeze. So I thought, new space economy, create a number of opportunities, lending opportunities, investment, STEAM 2.0. So the question to come back to is, how do you invest in new space? Okay, you are here. 25 years from now, China will be, by the way, China has a new plan out, released recently. It's 2050. In 25 years, they said they will be the leading space operator. Now, if you're young and you have children in this room, they won't be just in this earthly environment, economy. They will work in the new space, okay? Okay, I'll stop here, okay? The point about my presentation is, what kind of questions can we ask? How should we invest in new space? I don't know. Ask yourself. Okay, so let me introduce Stephen. Stephen is my teacher, my mentor, and my scientist. I always ask him crazy questions. And Stephen never gets mad at me, very patiently explain. Right? I have all sorts of questions. And he's like, great, it doesn't work like that. So anyway, you want me to do the introduction? Come on, Stephen, come on up. It's yours.
First of all, good afternoon. I'd like to thank the organizers and EY Space for inviting me here. And Greg gives an idea of what Hong Kong can do. What I would like to do is come at it from a broader perspective, asking the question and share with you, why go to space, okay? So it doesn't really matter whether it's Hong Kong or whoever. So the question in the back of a lot of our mind is, why go to space? So a quick introduction of myself. I went to school. My undergraduate and graduate work were all in physics. Started out working at Stanford University on a space program, as Greg always liked to. And then being in the middle of Silicon Valley, I switched field to medical equipment, doing cancer treatment machines. That's kind of my second hobby, is medicine. So and after that, I worked for two companies. These are major companies, Varian and Accurate. We make machines treating cancers. And then I came back to Hong Kong and worked for about 10 years. Most of it was with HKPC. And then several years ago, Greg and I we're starting talking about teaching a class at Hong Kong U. So these are my major stuff. Along the way, why I got involved in medical equipment was I got interested in microwaves. So I got so interested in it that I wrote 2 books. These are introductory books. And then recently I got so interested in space that I get the publisher to fund the writing of another book. It will come out later this year. It's called NewSpace, From Low Earth Orbit to the Moon and Beyond. So with that, I like to look at why we go to space. Okay? Now, curiosity is always in our DNA, so that goes without saying. Another thing, since about 10 or even 20 years ago, a lot of these futurists started asking, civilization needs a plan B. We might be one disaster away from total extinction. So that's what I mean by plan B. And in the meantime, we are running into depleting all the natural resources on Earth. And in order to sustain our standard of living, we always need energy and materials. So what gives? We're running out of natural resources. We continue to need more energy and resources. So one area to look is to recognize that the solar system has essentially an infinite amount of materials and energy for us to use. The question is, do we want to do this, and how do we do it? And last century, when the space program all started about 60, 70 years ago, our Earth has benefited from a lot of space activities such as satellites, the GPS and all that. So it's in our interest. I mean, we know that space activities help Earth. Now, actually, Duncan has talked about undersea. So I so happen to ask the same question. Why not go undersea? The answer is yes, you can. Okay. So I'm not ruling it out. The deepest part of the ocean is about 11 kilometers. The average is about 4 kilometers. And most people can survive beyond 200 meters. So going undersea is not that much fun, more fun than going to space. But it is a place that you can look for resources, and we should leave that option open. So what I would like to do, given the time, is to broadly look at what can we do in space. So the first one is, what can space do for Earth? And then the second one is, what can space do for space? So there are a lot of applications. Most of us are familiar with it, from meteorology to positioning. What I like to use actually is agriculture, that most of us people in Hong Kong don't pay that much attention to. So there are a lot of the biggest group of satellites right now in orbit is this, communication satellites. There are about 8,000 of them. The second largest group would be what we call Earth observation, EO. And so simplistically, it's basically a fancy camera going around taking pictures. But it takes pictures of different colors. A lot of the colors we humans cannot see, but it's there. So what I like to do is just show some examples. I cannot exhaust all the applications. So looking ahead, with more satellites, communication satellites up there, we can have what we call ubiquitous connectivity. And when you have that, you can enable autonomous driving and autonomous ships. So imagine ships going around without pilots. Well, I let you think about that one. So what I like to show is a couple of agriculture things. Agriculture is actually between 4 to 5 trillion US dollars a year. It's a huge business. Okay. So what are we using satellites for? It turned out that healthy plants have two things: plenty of chlorophyll, okay, which is in Chinese is 葉綠素. That's why it looks green. Healthy plants look green. The second part actually is at the cellular level, is that it like to absorb red and blue to enable photosynthesis. Okay. But in the meantime, it also reflects a wavelength that we cannot see called near infrared. So basically, on this image here, healthy plants do all these, and dead plants reflect almost no difference. So from the satellite's point of view, by looking at all these reflected wavelengths, you can now quantify what is greenness or health, plant health. So these are false colors. So this is a big plot of land from the Earth observation satellite's point of view. So on the lower left is an index called NVDI. I won't explain it. So 0.6 is considered healthy. So the green color is healthy, but the orange color is considered unhealthy. That means something has to be done about it. So on the left is a large operation, because a lot of farms in the US are huge. I mean, many, many acres of land. So in a large operation, what you can see is satellite images looking at different plots of land in the nation, and even at the local level, like in a state or in a county. So by looking at the different colors, okay, you can analyze as anything you want. But from there, which is a very sophisticated operation, if you dumb it down, then a farmer with his cellular phone knows where in his plot of land he needs to do something. So that's the level of precision. And this is a system funded by the United Nations, and it's called AMIS. Basically, it takes a whole global view and tracks six or seven major crops anytime, at any one time. So the colors on the left gives you whether they're healthy or unhealthy or watch or something wrong with it, okay? So why is this so important? Why does UN fund this? This has to do with food stability. If you can see what's happening next year, it affects global finance and a whole bunch of things. And in the interest of time, I only throw in the next one. So this is about climate change. It turns out that with climate change, the ocean surface temperature gets higher. And on this scale down here, it turns out if it goes near 30 degrees C, there's one thing that's very important: coral. Coral is also known as rainforest of the sea. It feeds 25% of the ocean biodiversity. So if the corals get stressed or die, so goes the oceans, so goes the fish and all the biodiversity. So satellite can track the global the surface temperature, and usually you see the industrial nations or areas near there have higher surface temperature. So looking ahead, right now there are two space stations in orbit, the International Space Station and the China Space Station, also known as Tiangong. So looking ahead, with commercialization, we can envision all kinds of commercialized space stations. So I'm postulating between 10 to 20 years, we will see luxury hotels, factories, R&D lab, even university, and the space version of a cruise ship. So space for space. Now, actually, I introduced a term here called cislunar. Originally, cislunar is the space between Earth and the Moon. Now it has been expanded by enthusiasts to include Mars and anything in between, and that usually means the asteroids we call near-Earth asteroids. So anything there which is called a cislunar economy. Now the word is economy. That means there are things in these planets and celestial bodies that we want of commercial values. And that's what characterizes 21st century space, is there's as much interest in economics as exploration. So I like to keep that in mind. Mining asteroids, these are the near-Earth asteroids. This is kind of a image of it. Why? Why asteroids? We used to be scared to death about asteroids killing us. If you turn that around, some of these asteroids carry trillions of dollars of precious metals, such as platinum. And all that. So it's the question of whether we turn it around or looking at it as a threat or looking at it as an economic opportunity. We also can mine things like just rocks to build up Mars or the moon. So the idea is industrialization. Now some people may not like to hear that, but as I said, 21st century space is as much about commercialization. Yes. So vision of the 21st century space. First thing first, we have to have low cost of access. Going to space has to be affordable even to the average of us. Right now it's not. There will be new industries and applications that we haven't thought of, but it will emerge. Humans' presence on the moon, Mars, and other orbits. So 20, 30 years from now, our children and grandchildren may find it very easy to just go so-called off-world to work and play. So cislunar trading means all these different places have materials that they can trade. Okay? So that's what an economy is. And one vision is we can offload these polluting industries to space and let Mother Earth have a chance to recover. So affordable access, I only focus on this. This is a rocket. For simplicity, the bottom 2/3 called the core stage. That's about 80% of the size, 80% of the cost making it, and 80% of the weight of the whole rocket. And then there's an upper stage, and then if you are astronaut, sit here. Just a tiny portion of a rocket. So a lot of times, up to recently, these rocket stages are discarded after one launch. That's like throwing away a 747 after one flight. So if you can make this reusable, then you save a lot of money. Then you can have lower cost of access to space. So this is the SpaceX rocket. After launch, it kind of automatically come back to their launching pads, even on a ship, and so forth. Now, that's about 10 years ago, so that's nothing new. A few months ago, there's a new chapter in reusable rockets. This is also by SpaceX. It's called the Starship. So some of us who follow this, this is a much bigger rocket. The total height is 120 meters tall. Okay, 120 meters is roughly 40 stories tall. The core stage and so forth. Both of them will be reusable, but right now, only the core stage has been demonstrated. It goes back to the launch pad. So that saves a lot of time and trouble. This is precision landing. Okay. So switching a little bit over, looking in the future, the moon is our next stop. So when? Is sometime this decade and next. The US has the Artemis program, China has the Chang'e program, and they all go to the same place, the south pole of the moon. because there has water there and sunlight. But this time, instead of come see, come saw, this time we'll be building outposts, laboratories, and looking to mine resources. Among all that, the most precious material that we think are useful is called helium-3. So I leave that for another talk. Another thing that's interesting for this time over is lunar internet, so-called lunar net. So instead of right now there are a lot of satellites and rovers roaming all over the moon or going to be. So for each of them to talk to Earth, that's very inefficient. So lunar net is like a cell tower, talking to everybody who wants to talk and so forth. So that's important. So this is the Starlink. Right now, there are 8,000 of them orbiting Earth. If we're not careful, they can all turn into garbage. So what I like to do is to close this, not necessarily with technology, but why, okay? Now, to many people of my generation, space was their first love. I think many of us cannot forget our first love, okay? So space inspires us to dream. And as Greg pointed out, many youngsters were inspired by the Apollo lunar landing moment in 1969. So that triggered a lot of people wanting to be scientists. And these tech billionaires, even though they didn't become space scientists, put their billions back to form companies to go to space. They do it out of passion, not money. So these are, for our generation, the words of inspiration. Okay? Going to the moon was one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. And with that, what I like to finish is, last century, we dreamed. This century, we go and touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Cheung. Please return to your seat briefly while we prepare for the next session. A big thank you to both Professor Li and Professor Cheung for the thought-provoking keynote speeches. It was great to learn more about the space economy itself, from satellite communications to disaster management, to the essential roles it plays in revolutionizing both traditional industries and tertiary sectors, all the way to improving and transforming our everyday lives. In fact, more or less everything is actually related to space, from air to land to deep in the sea. For our upcoming session, let's once again invite Professor Li, Professor Cheung, and our session's moderator, Mr. Aaron Pang, Chief Purpose Officer at Transformative Purpose, a business and training consultancy, onto the stage for a panel discussion. Mr. Pang, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi. Well, a very warm good afternoon, everyone. I don't know about you, but I'm a newcomer when it comes to space. Actually, when I first spoke to Greg has asked me to join these panel sessions for many times. I couldn't see the relevance of it. But after sitting here for the last couple of hours, I actually took a lot of notes, and there was a lot of insights that were shared by the two gentlemen here, and I learned a lot. So before I pass the floor to the stage, I'm sure some of you might have burning questions. And I just get a show of hands. Does anyone have any burning questions you would like to ask these two gentlemen right now? Oh, we got one. Would you like to ask now? Okay, all right. We'll prepare a few questions. Or maybe we'll just go through some of them and then we'll come back to you. Thank you so much for raising your hand. I did a bit of research and I came across with low altitude economy. So I was wondering if I could ask the two gentlemen here, what's the difference between LAE, they call it, and NewSpace economy? What's a layman definition of it?
This is Hong Kong's effort to begin the space exploration. It's very important. Now, low altitude economy, 1,000 meters or so, right? All those drones won't fly without GPS. Everything's linked. We have to link to the new space economy above and below. When you just look at the LAE, okay, low altitude economy, it's much more than just a science. Let's say a drone comes and errands is changing, and right flyover is window looking at Aaron. Can you do that? Where's the law to protect his privacy? Right, that comes into being. What about crossing the border? As Hong Kong goes into Shenzhen, it's not that simple, right? So a lot of data is moving around. What about cybersecurity? What if I steal it? Can I take the drone away? Right? I mentioned cybersecurity, which is part of space. Everything's linked, but in a different way. So Hong Kong is playing with this because it's the right time, right place. But the main thing is about data coming down. That's only a part of it. That's how I see it. So the effort that Hong Kong is doing in the low altitude economy, definitely keep on going, but it's not in itself sufficient. Stephen, you want to throw in your...
Well, I can give a little bit of a technical thing. Going to space, there's a so-called common line, which is the official edge of space, about 100 kilometers above the sea level. So beyond that, we call that space. So low Earth orbit starts roughly 200 kilometers all the way out to 2000. So to enter that zone, you need rockets. Low altitude economy is basically just about height now, right? So you can use blades, and it's a different set of technologies altogether. And usually it's a very limited range, say a kilometer or even a little bit more. That's great for logistics, so forth. So LAE is easier and cheaper to do. Going to space is, we usually talk about tens of millions of US dollars each shot. So that's a different type of economy. But LAE has the satellite element involved in it. That's about the only way I can cut this.
Let me throw in a short answer. Okay, so going back to your agriculture example, right? You want to see how agricultures are. You combine that with satellite and also LiDAR, and that LiDAR comes from the drones. All those data combined will give you a bigger picture, right? So that is what's going on in the new world. You can actually monitor disasters. Now, technology is so powerful that, let's say there's a flood, okay? Flood happens. You want the insurance to pay you because something has happened. Insurance company says, oh, I can do that because with our satellite, I can actually see how deep the water has pushed the earth into the ground. Instantly, you get paid. This is how quickly things are moving, right? So insurance is a huge part of it, linked to what you mentioned, and also linked to the LiDAR, right? Everything is linked in a different way. The application, the ability to link all those to sell that idea is what gives the business potential. Anyway, without going too far, back to you.
Thank you. I also want to do a short reflection on what I've heard from both the speakers here. If there was a tracker, if there was an emotional tracker for the last 2 hours, I think my emotion sort of went like, at the start, there was a lot of optimism, there was a lot of hope, a lot of curiosity, the mindset both Greg and Dr. Stephen, you have touched on. And then Dr. Stephen, you also talked about mankind might need a plan B. We might be one big disaster away from human extinction. And then obviously you also touched on the possibilities of different new industries that might be popping up around a new orbit. How would you, if you were to use one word to describe your emotion and how you feel about new space economy, what would that emotion be? And out of all the possibilities that you're seeing, what's the one industry that perhaps you are most looking forward to see?
Reusable rocket stages. That means someday, maybe my son will have his ride to a space version of a cruise ship. That's what I would like to look at. Just low-cost access to space.
And you, Greg?
I'll add to his and I'll add mine. See, I'll give you a reference, okay? It costs $10,000 to get anything up in space, 1 kilogram, $10,000. With Elon, it comes down to 2,000. Someday with Chinese company getting involved, it'll come down to 200 potentially. So the price of the phone, I can get a satellite up there. That is how quickly the world has changed, right? So he mentioned rockets. He loved the rockets. Me, I use my old picture, which is you staring at the light and you don't know what to do. Okay? So my fear is ignorance. Because we don't know what to do, we don't act. Hong Kong is a perfect place, perfect time, because the motherland is going like that, right? And it's asking Hong Kong, what can you do? And we can do a lot of things. It has to begin with the business of. So let's say a space company comes down to Hong Kong and says, I need money. Simple, right? You start creating a project finance. I need insurance. Where do you get the insurance? Put together insurance for it. The whole thing starts rolling, right? It has to begin with the seed. This part is missing. We're talking to a space company. They said, what can Hong Kong do for us? Right? I have a Thai Space Academy coming over and says, Greg, I want to put my satellite onto a Chinese rocket. Who can I talk to? We're disconnected. We need to get back into the game because that is where we need to change where we need to be. Anyway, so my word for that is in shock. Still, I don't know what to do, so I do nothing.
Thank you. Thank you. What about the audience? If I could ask a question, what should we do next?
There's a lot of discussion on the blueprint for Hong Kong. I think the first thing we need to do is set up a task force, right? Get the brains together and say, what are we going to do? Simple. Compared to what Luxembourg has done. Okay, look at what they have done. Look at what China's 2050 new plan is going to do. The old thinking is about astronauts. Let's give an example. So even Duncan mentioned astronaut. It is not about astronauts. It's about mission specialist. What does it mean? The old thinking is an astronaut, right? No, everybody's an astronaut. A cook up there is an astronaut, right? A mission specialist resolve a mission. One person on the moon, you need 1,000 people on the ground. 2030, China will have a station on the moon. Where's Hong Kong? We're still sleeping, right? So wake up. That's what I'm trying to say. Wake up. Time to wake up. So what can we do? Look at where things are moving, right? Talk to those people. Understand the market needs, not the technology. Market doesn't need technology. The right technology will work if the timing is right. We need to connect the dots when we're disconnected because we're not part of the discussion. Last year, by some very good effort of some very good people, we had the first space rubbish discussion in Hong Kong. You didn't know about it, right? 71 countries came to Hong Kong. They sat down and they talked. Never happened. They were able to talk because Hong Kong is not about politics, it's about business, right? But things like that we need to encourage more of. But we don't have that. Anyway, sorry.
Stephen, have something to add? What's in it for everyone?
I was actually thinking of one new industry, which is not necessarily my favorite, but is an important one. We talked about all this space debris with millions of parts up there, man-made parts. So that is going to inhibit space launch if we don't do anything about it. So the field is called remediation. So right now the strategy is to stop introducing new garbage in space, and we don't know what to do with the existing one. So it's like several decades ago when we have garbage everywhere, and then that's spring the industry called waste management. That's a huge industry right now. So at least I know the US and EU have regulations in place that require new launches to have a solution to deorbit 5 years after the mission completes. So what's the solution? One, either you have a built-in solution or you pay somebody to do it. So I think that's bringing up a new startup industry, how to remove space garbage. And right now, a lot of universities are testing ideas. So it's a new new idea, space garbage.
I think one of my takeaways from your sharing session is that we used to be scared of asteroid, you mentioned, but there's so many ways that we can reframe a problem into an opportunity. And the example that you gave was we could potentially tap into the energy source, turning asteroid into source of platinum. I think that's what you said. Out of all the industries, personally, I can't speak on behalf of everyone. The one that I'm most excited about is luxury hotel and luxury travel. How far away are we from, for an average household to be able to go and travel space and maybe spend a weekend with our family?
Okay, give you some reference. Stephen showed that space hotel. By 2030, it'll be up there. We're moving so fast. Okay. Some of you look at the suborbital flight, right? Going up, going down. Anywhere in any part of the world. How long is it? 90 minutes? Right? Go up, go down.
Just that?
Yeah.
About 10 minutes.
Imagine you can go any part of the world.
You have
let's make it, 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes. Anywhere in the world. Is that going to change the way we travel? Well, imagine if you can go like that and you pay the price of a first class ticket. You did, right? So this is what Jeff Bezos is looking at. He's not stupid. He's looking at the possibility when that changes. Okay, so a lot of things are happening. CES Space, which is a Chinese organization, they have a replica. You can put 6 individuals and fly from the seabed, goes up and come down. So they're pushing that as a new strategy next year. So that is coming, but the price is not cheap, of course. It's going to be sky's the limit. There's some individual in Hong Kong actually asked me, can it sign up for it? So there's a company in Hong Kong, travel agency, Miramar, will take your order if you want to, if you're interested.
All right. Thank you. We have a question here.
We heard about a lot of business opportunities in the new space, and but something you haven't touched on is the defense, the military use of the space so far. I think, in fact, there are already a lot of applications by different countries in this area already, and I'm afraid that, what we are actually afraid of is the manipulation of these defense and military area technology, and also and how are we going to sort of manage all this the defense development in the space.
The way I would put it is, whether you like it or not, okay, defense or military usage of space goes with all governments will have something like that. It doesn't matter whether it's US, Europe, China, they all have military programs. It's just that they're not that well known. Okay? So for example, the recent one would be the Starlink, which is the commercial version of the communication satellites. There are about 10 to 20,000 satellites being planned. But because of some basically nasty exchange between the US and China, okay, China said, I can shoot these down, right? So the US Defense Department initiated a new project called Starshield. That means it's about the same number of satellites, but you can't see me. So it's a game, right? So defense is part of the military, is part of the space economy. There's no way around it. Because the military people are willing to pay.
in this industry, there's something called dual use. So a company can invest in, government can subsidize that, and also the private sector. The thing I want to look into is single use for civilians. The defense is cutting edge, bleeding edge. Okay, you don't need to go there. Let's look at things more grounded that we can help humanity with. So I understand where you're going, and this is always going to be part of life, but we don't have to encourage that.
Another question there. Thank you.
In the past 50, 60 years, Hong Kong showed fantastic entrepreneurship, and today Hong Kong has amazing billionaires. Is there anyone who you can convince to build a second SpaceX company?
When we started OASA 2019, China began the NewSpace in 2014. Part of it is civilian companies, university graduates that building rockets. So there was only a handful. Now there's something like 20 companies in China actually has this capability. Okay, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? Do whatever the other person is doing, and build on that. A lot of things that you can do. You can invest in SpaceX. You can invest in Starlink. You can invest in the China version of it or the European version of it. All this possibility. So the question is there any entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, okay, that actually can take advantage of this? There's a company called YAS, YAS. What they do? GPS. Yeah, YAS provides microinsurance. So let's say you go jogging, okay? So you go to jog, turn on the clicker, satellites monitors you, and then when you finish, you get it off. So during a period, you're protected. Interesting, huh? Hong Kong company. So all these things are possible if you can link it. But, we have to connect the disconnected.
Anything else you want to add?
To follow on that, what I would call whether Hong Kong has it's not the matter of Hong Kong having the money or the billionaires. Without offending anybody, I say there's a lack of passion in space, okay? So you have to be willing to do this without thinking about return on investment, okay? So without passion, there are many more things you can do with your money, okay? That's number one. Number two, the most successful space companies so far, because they're mass producing satellites, used to be is one at a time. So now you're turning it into a mass production effort. So everything has to be designed like a production line. So all these are disrupting the satellite industry. So it has to be entrepreneurs who not just put up money, but willing to go change everything. And that takes both passion and commitment. And I don't know if billionaires in Hong Kong have that mindset.
And thank you. Two more questions.
Hang on. Can I ask a quick question about solar storms? July 2025, this year, is the highest point of solar storms in a 12-year cycle. It's the first time that the world has been fully digitized. And now, of course, we've got a lot of satellites. What do you think the correlated effect of solar storms is going to be on the new space economy?
While Stephen's thinking, I was in Macau, and it's fascinating, MUST, Macau University of Science and Technology. China gave them a satellite which looked at solar storm. They actually have a huge amount of research into this, understanding what it is, what's it going to come from. It's fascinating. But our kids in Hong Kong, we need to be introduced and get them into Macau because we're not going to have that in Hong Kong. So it's a lot of things that we can leverage on one another. And coming back to your storm, yes, it's going to impact a lot of things. And it's going to get more and more, right? It's going to get out of control. So we need to monitor that. Stephen?
I haven't thought about that one, so
Okay.
can I skip?
All right, David, we'll come back to you.
Okay, let me share my idea or ask you concrete. Thank you, Greg and Stephen, to share the idea. And you really stimulate my thinking. I've been involved with the Chinese Committee of Science on the GIS. I know exactly what happened on Earth, because basically all our human beings, asset and wealthy, are on Earth, because all the energy from God has changed in the material here, and it provides us the very suitable and accommodatable condition for our human being. And if you ask for why we have to go to space, my immediate imagination is that from GIS, we also have the what we call the 遙控遙感. Okay, that is we also search the Earth from the space and to check it what's down on Earth there. Because when we go up, that means go up, what do you mean up? From the center of the Earth, we go further up there and then we can tackle the whole Earth and then see the whole area in a bigger size. I also involved in the farming and the agroforestry. So I know I am linked up with what you people has shared with us. I know that the problem there. But what I asked, as a building engineer, I asked, do we really need to go to space? The question to me, and the answer to me, do we have enough space or area that we can use on Earth? That's the first question. And what is the reason why we have to go to another space? Like, why you travel? During the holiday or the coming holiday, you will go to other place to travel. It's only a matter of to contain your curiosity or to let you have a venture opportunity. But if we are content with what we have, or we are happy to live here, and if there is no quarrel, no dispute, then we are happy on Earth. But as a matter of fact, what do you mean by space? To me, as a building engineer, we are going to use some of the element on Earth to send it out there and then form some sort of a big space with covered, protected environment, like a big shell or like a big hole with controlled environment therein, so that people can live there, can survive. Now, of course, what is a rocket to me is like a lift, elevator for middle translate, for transmission only. That's simple. And why we people today
we're running out of time.
It's the commercial idea is, do we need that? And then is there anybody willing to pay that? To me, it is the matter of billionaire or trillionaire, because we need some people who know the technology. If we go there, there must be some people well trained to survive there.
Right. Would you like to
come back?
take the question first?
I'm trying to find a question in that long statement, but it dragged on something that I thought about. Part of it is, whenever we talk about space, there's always a need says, why go to space and spend all the money? We still have poor people on Earth. That is a very difficult question to answer. And all government must find a way to answer it. Okay? There's no magical answer. And space is curiosity, like Stephen says. And space is the application of space. So coming back to this building idea. Satellites can pick up temperature outside a building, can link that to internet inside this building here. You have sensor in each of the output. And let's say I'm a 23 degrees Celsius individual, and somehow he knows that I'm here, it'll come down to 23 degrees just for me. That's how you apply space and data. Anyway, without going too far.
I want to try to answer Edwin's question. I've spent more than, I've been looking into the space industry since 1998, okay, and I've worked with a satellite company for more than 13 years. So I definitely have a very strong passion for space. So I want to answer his question in two ways. One, when Aaron started, he asked about low altitude economy, first of all, and then we also mostly talk about space later on for most of the session today. So starting with Edmund from a building perspective, when people talk about the low altitude economy, we always say that, is it going to be dangerous? Are these drones going to crash into the building? But you know that Hong Kong is actually the built up environment, urban environment, only cover maybe less than 20% of the land area in Hong Kong. It's 80% green in Hong Kong. So drones, what does that do? Will bring the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But we're restricted because of the roads, because of the traffic, because I can't get to where I want to go because I need to take the subway, I need to go down, I need to go this way. But when you can go by drones, it's the straightest, easiest way to get to where you want to go. So that's the first thing about low altitude economy. Space is the same thing. The area that I was working with was about GEO, which is a high geostationary space, which is a little bit different from the LEO satellites that we're talking about today. But again, satellite can bring communications everywhere. In order to bring communications 5G, you need to dig up the ground, you need some kind of installation on Earth. And it's not that easy. It's easy in Hong Kong, but it's not easy once you get into the Greater Bay Area or China. You need a lot more to be done. But with satellite, once you have a satellite in space, you just need a satellite truck. You can bring communications there. When you have an earthquake, you bring a satellite truck and you get instant communications. That's for GEO. Okay, very few people have thought that what Elon did is possible, but he did. In terms of SATCOM, what Elon did change is that you can potentially, and that's is not actually done right now, you can potentially bring SATCOM to ships in a low and with equipment that's very light. You can finally bring broadband satellite service to the whole Earth for the first time. You have iridiums before, but that is still quite restricted. It's not broadband. So Elon is the first time you can actually bring it to the entire Earth with the system. So I think satellite has a lot of possibilities, and it's something that I'm very passionate about it, and I wish more people would learn more about it and see what are the possibilities in terms of both low altitude economy and also what satellite can bring. And I'm only talking about SATCOM. There's a lot more that is possible. But we need passion, we need knowledge, and we need integration of information. So I hope we can continue this conversation in some other format in the future.
Thank you, Clara. Stephen, do you have anything else to add? I'm also conscious of time. If there are any more questions, I will.
I think I'll just add that space or going to space, medicine, there are quite a few very worthwhile technologies or industries to go into. You don't have to really support all of them. Okay, no doubt, we still have many things we can do on Earth, but one cannot deny that we are running out of resources. I'm sure you can dig deeper and find more, but the question really is, are we content with just Earth, or are we willing to go beyond?
I would end by a meeting I had with the UK Space Academy head, and he could tell me space accounts for 20% of the UK GDP. Wow, where do you get a number, right? Ask me, we have no number, we have no clue. I have no idea what it accounts for because nobody measures it. That is the type of ignorance I'm talking about. We don't even know. So I end my talk.
Thank you. Thank you for all the sharing, all the questions from the audience. And just a quick wrap up from me. Personally, I've learned a lot from the questions and also from the keynote presentation today. And thank you for raising philosophical questions and applicational questions. And these are all valid questions. As with any change that we experience, the default response is usually we need to take time as human beings to absorb the change. Sometimes we might feel defensive, we might be scared about the changes. But I think perhaps the best solution, and we've got such a big group of people here, is really to cultivate that mindset because the space is already here, whether we like it or not. And it's not within our control how other countries or how certain people will use technologies to benefit mankind or to harm mankind. But I feel like if we pull all our intelligence and good intentions together, we can put more young people through the program so we can cultivate more entrepreneurs in Hong Kong. And already with most of the talks that I've done in corporate, I keep hearing people are scared with AI. They're scared that the jobs will be replaced, right? Perhaps space is an area that the young people can go to space, right? It's creating a whole new industry. There will be new jobs being created. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for coming today and spending time with us. And thank you so much for both speakers.
Thank you, Professor Li, Professor Cheung, and Mr. Pang for bringing us such an inspirational and fruitful sharing. Please return to your seats. Thank you. I would also like to take this opportunity to once again thank Mr. Duncan Chiu for the opening remarks, our venue sponsor, EY Wavespace, and our supporting organization, OASA. We look forward to seeing you at our next event on 6 May at our seminar on Hong Kong Youth Entrepreneurship Bases in the Greater Bay Area, jointly organized with Hong Kong Coalition and Cyberport, with in-depth discussions among representatives from government departments, business leaders, and representatives and Hong Kong entrepreneurs from innovation and entrepreneurial bases in the Greater Bay Area. Thank you all for coming and have a nice evening ahead. See you.